Hello everyone. Out here with all the dogs. And this is a video I've been thinking about making for a while. Here's Dad's back from his little holiday. Jude! But it's one that's probably maybe a little bit controversial. I don't mean it to be controversial, but it might be. But it's selecting a stud dog. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. So, number one, look at your bitch. Look at her temperament, look at her conformation, and be honest about it. So, if you've got, say, a bitch that's a bit timid, then you want to select a stud dog that isn't timid. If you've got a bitch that hasn't got a very level top line, pick a stud dog that has. If you've got a bitch with a high tail set, pick a dog that's got a correct or even a low tail set. So you're trying to pick a match that complements your bitch and improves the next generation. So, if you look at Lily, her tail set isn't actually bad, like where her tail actually comes out of her bum, but she carries it high. It's almost a touch low, and then she sort of puts it up in the air. But yeah, be honest, because their temperaments will get passed on. And if you're using a stud dog that's been used before, have a little nose and see what its offspring are like. Some stud dogs produce better than themselves. Some produce very similar to themselves, and some don't produce equal to themselves. They produce worse than themselves. And if you can, speak to people who own puppies by that stud dog and ask what their general temperament is like. Come on guys, let's go. No, leave Pod alone. So then the other thing to look at is health tests. What health tests does the stud dog have? And are they relevant to your breed? So this isn't just about Dalmatians, this is any breed. So common health tests are hearing tests and hip and elbow scoring with Dalmatians. So those are the important ones there, but there's some breeds that need their eyes tested. I think Schnauzers do, for example. And then again, if you can, look at what offspring of that stud dog's health tests are like. It's not a guarantee, obviously, but do some research. Don't just pick a stud dog based on price. Don't pick a stud dog based on a good advert and some pretty pictures. Pick a stud dog because it complements your bitch. If they say they think it's going to make a future working champion or show champion, well, it isn't one yet, is it? And to be a future champion or working champion, they got to be out there competing. So ask, when was the last time that dog was out? And what was its results? I know show results and working trial results aren't everything, but they are an indication of that offspring's potential ability. And, with Dalmatians, hearing tests, nobody has isolated which genes are responsible for hearing tests. Not hearing tests, like the results, so whether they're full hearing, unilateral or deaf. So until those results are out, then it's going to be like a guessing game to breed away from that. Because full hearing parents can and do produce unilateral and deaf puppies, because there hasn't been the full research into which genes are responsible for the hearing results. So you could ask, what are the hearing results like for the offspring of this stud, for example in Dalmatians, but don't use that as like your whole basis of choice. And also don't forget, people will and do lie. But if the stud dog owner has invested in in other health tests other than hearing tests, because let's face it, most hearing tests are done by the breeder of the dog, then they are wanting to contribute to the future health of the breed. They're not just wanting to earn enough money to buy another handbag. So look into different things. And if one particular dog is the cheapest stud fee around, ask why it's so cheap. For example, when I used Judith's father on Disney to create Judith, and when I used him again for the latest litter, his stud fee is the price of a puppy. Now that's about as expensive as stud fees will get, but I was prepared to pay it because I'd seen plenty of what that sire had produced and I liked it. I'd seen health tests from those, his offspring, and they were good. And I liked him. I loved his temperament. And I'd seen the temperament he'd passed on to most of his offspring as well. So all of those factors went into my choice. So just think about it. And whenever I've inquired about using a dog at stud, they've quizzed me on my bitch's pedigree, my bitch's temperament, my bitch's health test. They've often required proof of her health testing, which obviously I've got all of that. And if the stud dog owner isn't doing that, why not? Another thing they ask is, are they registered? Which of course they always are. And we never, myself and Helen, let our dogs go on unregistered bitches, because it's even easier to lie about pedigrees, about health test results, etc. There's lines I know of in pedigree Dalmatians that I know carry certain problems, which is fine because I know about it, and it's easy to track, easy to follow, easy to find out if that dog carries those lines. With unregistered dogs, you haven't got a clue, and you're potentially causing a lot of issues for future owners of those puppies. So yes, it's a tough choice, and you've got to really have an honest look at your dogs. Like, for example, Podrick, he's got a lot of bone. So you wouldn't want him to go on a bitch that's also got a lot of bone, because you'd probably get them too chunky, too heavy in bone for a Dalmatian. But if he went on a bitch that's a bit finer, or just an average amount of bone, you'd probably get a nice mix. Podrick has got the most laid-back temperament, like his mother, I've ever known. So the fact that Nala's like it and Podrick's like it, there's a fair chance he's going to pass that temperament on. It's not guaranteed, because it's never guaranteed. But usually, if the parents have a nervous temperament, they'll pass that nervous temperament on. If they've got a dominant temperament, they'll pass that on. Like Nala's very dominant, and most of her puppies also share that dominant trait. And Harry, who is Aria and Pod's dad, is nervous, but I relied very much on Nala's temperament because I'd also met Nala's mother, Nala's grandmother. I knew the owners of the sires, Nala's sire, Nala's grandsire, and I knew all those temperaments on that side were really solid. I've also got Disney and Lily, who are Harry's mother and auntie. And I know their temperaments are really solid. So I took a gamble because I was relying a lot on Nala and the rest of that sort of temperament of those lines, hoping all of those were combined to outweigh Harry's nervous temperament. And there's 2 from that litter out of 10 that have passed that nervous temperament. He's passed the nervous temperament on to. And then you could really get into the whole nature versus nurture thing. And, bad experiences can make a dog nervous, yes. Good experiences can gain confidence in a dog, yeah, I agree. But their overall disposition, their overall reaction would be to be nervous. And a nervous dog, it's got, options of how it's going to respond to a situation. Fight or flight is the usual 2. But there are other 2. And I think it's fawn or something else, I can't remember. But if you go to fight or flight, so flight, they're going to run off. And I've heard of dogs getting frightened of something, running across the road and getting hit by a car. And then the fight might mean that they are dog reactive or people reactive or situation reactive, which might mean that their dog is acting not sort of generally characteristic of the breed. Is that nice, Nala? Is that nice? You're a sweetheart. Yeah, you're a sweetheart. So there's a lot of factors that go into the decision. But for us, myself and Helen, temperament and health are massive, because living with a dog that's in bad health is stressful. It's unfair to the dog. They might need a lot of vet treatment. They might cost their owners a lot of money in vet treatment. And temperament, if you've got a dog that's difficult to live with in one way or another, that's hard. If you've got ones with separation anxiety, for example, that's very hard to live with. If you've got ones that are nervous or dog reactive, people reactive, those are all managed. You've got to live in a way that you've got to manage all these situations. Nala, why are you picking on Aria? Nala, Pod. I don't know what started this off. I missed it. But yeah, you don't really need or want to manage your whole dog's life and not be able to do the things you want. For example, if somebody wants a Dalmatian and they want to do agility, but then it's got hip dysplasia, well, it ain't doing agility. And you've got a choice then. You either try and rehome a dog with hip dysplasia. Pod, don't you dare. He's going to hump her then. Or you've just got to wait out the life of that dog. And then get yourself another one that hopefully doesn't have those problems. That's just one example. But Pod, what are you girls doing? Oh, Jude. So yeah, anyway, hope that makes sense. And I'm not saying use this dog, don't use that dog, because to be quite frank, it isn't any of my business which dog people want to use. But I just wanted to give you some of my thoughts, my opinions and my experiences on selecting stud dogs. For example, like Jude, she's gone to Boris. He's got so many champions in his lines, it's unreal. I did research and looked into dogs from that kennel, dogs from that line, dogs that he's produced, puppies that he's produced, and I really like them. Boris is also hip and elbow scored and hearing tested. Jude is hip and elbow scored and hearing tested, and they've all got really good scores. Boris is lovely. He is absolute, like, bouncy clown, sweetheart. He moves for fun. And I hope it'll be a nice combination. Because Jude isn't so much a clown like him. She's a bit more serious. But hopefully those two sort of traits will balance out. They both, you know, Jude's quite high energy. She likes doing things. She likes running and chasing balls. Not so much now she's pregnant. But yeah, and he's got qualities in his conformation that I hope he will improve on her, because she's got a little bit of a long nose, for example, and he's got a much sort of squarer head, more like a Podrick type of head, which is what we want. They both got good fronts, both got good feet. He's got better hind angulation than her, and her top line isn't bad, but it could be more level, and he's got a really level top line. So, you know, I looked at all those factors when I made my decision, and it might turn out completely wrong. I might be wrong in this choice, this decision, but I did choose him based on thought and consideration of Jude's qualities and his qualities, not just on the stud fee, which was cheaper than Zach, but it wasn't cheap. But, you know, that doesn't matter to me, because I want to, each generation, I want to look at improving what I've got already. Nala's so lush. So yeah, anyway, hope that makes sense. This is just me babbling on. And I hope you're enjoying the videos of us going out with Penny. We're going out today without her because we're going to have a day off, and she's having shoes put on Monday, and today's Friday, just because she's getting a little bit sensitive on the stones. But yeah, anyway, see you all soon. Bye.